Welcome to another video in the Guesstimate series where we solve guesstimates and market sizing questions which have been asked in multiple consulting and data analyst interviews all around the world. If you want to watch the previous video or understand what even is a guesstimate, just click on the icon flashing above and you can learn all about it. So now without any further delay, let's look at today's question. Estimate the number of restaurants in the city of Bangalore. This is our objective for today, and this question has been asked in prestigious firms like McKinsey and Flipkart as well. When asked in different companies, the main idea remains the same for solving this question. The only thing that changes is the name of the city. So as we saw in the previous video, we start by asking the interviewer a few clarifying questions which help us to simplify our approach and also make the interview a lot more interactive. So a couple of questions that you can ask are, firstly, when we say restaurants, what are we including under them? Because there may be a lot of cloud kitchens, bakeries and cafes as well. So are we considering them for this question also? Secondly, are we considering any particular part of Bangalore or the whole city? So for the first question, we will assume that a restaurant is a place where we go to physically and dine in. So that definition allows us to exclude cloud kitchens and bakeries. And for the second one, we will consider the entire city of Bangalore, which includes both the main city and its suburban areas. So for these types of questions, there are two particular methods to solve it. One is the population method and the other is the area method. We will first start with the population method and draw out our framework for it. We will start with the population of Bangalore. Then we find out the percentage of people who dine out. With that, we also calculate the average number of meals that are served in a typical restaurant on a daily basis. Then we finally divide the number of people that dine out by the average meals served, which will give us the total number of restaurants in the city. So now that we have our framework ready, we can fill in the numbers. We will assume Bangalore's population to be around 14 million people. And one thing I would suggest is, if you do not know the population of any metropolitan city like Bangalore or Mumbai, it is always safe to assume it to be between 10 and 20 million. Then we find the percentage of people who dine out. We first divide them into categories: high frequency diners, mid frequency, low frequency, and the ones who rarely or never dine out. Then we assume how much of the population will lie in each category. Assuming high frequency diners to be only about 10%, that is 1.4 million, and the rest to be 30%, which is 4.2 million each. Here you can take your own assumptions as well, but just make sure you have a strong reason to back your assumptions. Next, we find out how many times in a month does a person in each category dine out. This is also called as customer behavior. So we assume high frequency diners dine about 10 times in a month. The mid frequency diners eat in restaurants about 4 times a month, maybe on every Sunday. The people in the lower frequency category may dine out just once a month, maybe on a special occasion or to celebrate a particular event. While the last category hardly dines out, so we have assumed their numbers to be negligible. Now we multiply the population of each category with their behavior and we get the total meals for each category. When we add it up, we get around 35 million meals that are served in a month. If we divide it by 30, we get about 1.2 million meals served per day. Now that we have the number of meals that are consumed by people in a day, we move on to finding out how many meals are served by a typical restaurant daily. So we assume that high-end restaurants will serve only about 50 to 100 meals in a day, while the mid-sized places will serve a larger crowd of about 100 to 200 meals. Similarly, busy restaurants located near offices and crowded places such as fast food chains and cafes will serve almost 300 meals in a single day. This gives us a considerate average of about 120 meals that are served by a typical restaurant on a daily basis. Now for the final calculations, we divide 1.2 million meals by 120 and we get 10,000 restaurants in the city of Bangalore. This was the solution using a demand-side approach where we based our assumptions on the behavior of customers and their frequency of dining out. So now let's look at the area method, which is another method that you can use to solve this question. Just like the population method, we will first build out our framework. So we start with the total area of the city of Bangalore. Then we will divide it into 3 zones: commercial, residential and suburban. Then we will calculate how much area each zone covers. Then we will assume the number of restaurants that will be present in each square kilometer of that zone. And then we will calculate the total number of restaurants present in each zone. So now that we have our framework, let's put in the numbers. Assuming the area of Bangalore to be about 750 square kilometers, This is mostly the size of a metropolitan city in India. Then we find the total area under each zone. Commercial zone makes up 20% of the area or about 150 square kilometers. Residential areas have the highest share at 50% or about 375 square kilometers. And suburban areas or the areas lying on the border of Bangalore make up 30% of the total area, which is about 225 square kilometers. Now we find out the number of restaurants in 1 square kilometer of each zone, since each zone will cater to a different group of people and will have varying demand. Commercial zone will have the highest number of restaurants per square kilometer since there is a larger group of people to cater to and thus more restaurants will be required. So we assume around 30 restaurants per square kilometer in the commercial zone. In the residential zone, people have a choice to either dine in or dine out. So the number of restaurants will be lower, around 10 per square kilometer. And finally, the suburban zone, which connects the city to expressways and highways, will have very few restaurants like dhabas, and thus we assume around 4 restaurants per square kilometer in the suburban zone. So now if we multiply the area under each zone by the number of restaurants per square kilometer, we get the count for that area. So in the commercial zone, there are about 4,500 restaurants. In the residential zone, the number is about 3,750. And in the suburban zones, the number is near 900. So in total, we get 9,150 restaurants in the city of Bangalore using the area method. If you have noticed, we have gotten a very similar answer using both the area and the population method, which shows our approach is correct. But if the interviewer probes you to cross-check your answer, you can do a simple sanity check right there. Sanity check is a quick and basic test to determine whether the estimate found is in the right ballpark or not before investing additional resources into it. So in this case, we can say Zomato has listed around 8 to 10,000 restaurants in the city of Bangalore on its app, which shows our calculations are in the right ballpark. Now that we have seen both these methods, the question is which method should be used when solving the question in front of an interviewer, the population method or the area method? Well, both have its advantages. The population method allows you to estimate based on customer demand and behavior, which shows how customers think and how it affects calculations. Whereas the area method is more robust in the sense that it shows the restaurants are unevenly distributed around the city and gives a realistic view of their presence. So my suggestion would be use any one method to solve the question and then use the second method to cross-check your answer if the interviewer asks you to do so. So this is the way you can solve similar questions in your interviews, and remember, the interviewer is only focused on your approach and how well you can back it up. I hope you learned something new in this video, and if you have any guesstimates of your own that you want me to solve, just write it down in the comment section below. Until then, thanks for watching.